welcome to the Empowered Intuitive Academy podcast, where we discuss all things spiritual and mundane. And today is episode 1, Introductions and Intentions. So we are your hosts, Petra and Tay. And today we just wanted to jump on and talk a little bit about ourselves, give you a little bit about our backgrounds, and what brought us together to create this podcast. So some of our intentions behind bringing this to you all. So Petra, would you like to start by telling us a little bit about your background and what you're all about?
Yep, no worries. I'm an author of a young adult fantasy series called When Magic Awakes. It's magical realism, so it incorporates a reality that you can recognize with magical elements. In my life before writing and doing all of that, I was an accountant and I was in IT. So I've got a very logical mind. So I apply that to a lot of the magical realism stuff that I write in my books. So I wrote this about 5 years ago, and this came out about 4 years ago. And I'm busy working on the third book in the series, which should be out literally by the end of this year, which is super exciting. In the meantime, I decided to create a companion piece for the series, which is an oracle deck, which is where I met the lovely Tayla, and basically created a deck with my own artwork to showcase the characters, the settings, and the dynamic that was forming in the book series. So it's become a bit of an all-encompassing part of my life. So that's me, what I'm doing now. So author, artist. To research the book series, because as I said, it's magical realism. I'm a Reiki, studied Reiki. I've studied crystal healing, advanced crystal healing, chakras, color and energy healing. So I've tried to learn in the background of the different spiritual aspects, and so that when I'm portraying them in the series, I'm not portraying them in an unrealistic fashion. So that's pretty much me. And I'm a mum of 2 kids that are really big. So I've got a 24-year-old and a 22-year-old.
I love that. I am a mum of 2 kids as well, but mine are both small. So one has just turned 1, and the other one, she is 5 this month as well. And so my background is in witchcraft predominantly, but I have a more earth-based focus in my practice, and with a lot of indigenous traditions and roots. And my beliefs are mainly set in terms of animism, believing that everything has an essence, has a presence, has a spirit to it. So you could say my craft is a fusion of traditional as well as animistic practices, which a lot of people might liken to shamanism, but I don't identify as a shaman. And as Petra said before, we met through creating our own oracle decks. In my day-to-day, I am a practicing intuitive artist. And what that means is I channel wisdoms and insights from spirit and create these beautiful visual art talismans for people to help them on their spiritual journeys. And I wanted to create an oracle deck for people to really get in touch with their ancestors and their primal wisdom and knowing. And so I created the Primal Oracle. This deck was inspired by my love for anthropology and archaeology based on our Paleolithic past. So I really wanted to bring that theme and concept forward into the modern day so that we can be guided by our most ancient ancestors. And it is in that space that I met Petra, and we just had this beautiful connection. And for people who are completely on 2 sides of the country, and we have a bit of an age difference and like different backgrounds, we've connected really well. And before, you know, my main occupation, as you could say, was witchcraft and witchcraft mentoring and being an intuitive artist. I was a registered nurse before then, so I primarily worked in aged care and palliative care, so dealing with death, dying, aging people and patients. And I left that work once I had my kids. So now I'm here running my own online shop and herbal apothecary and teaching people about witchcraft and spiritualism. So yeah, that's me.
And we just get into so many ridiculous conversations during our just catch ups when I was doing Taylor's course, which was fantastic. So the questions that I would ask Taylor would just like go, really, where does that come from? And we just got into so many fantastic conversations, but we just said, you know what, let's record these because these are hilarious.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what we're hoping to do here.
Yeah. We just had so many cool in-depth conversations that came through so naturally, and we thought, why not share this? Why not, like, this sounds like a podcast episode. So we are the Empowered Intuitive Academy podcast, and it's really exciting. We've got so many cool topics that we've already planned out and we're going to talk about. And I suppose we should talk a little bit about our intentions for the podcast before we get into that side of it. So, I mean, what are some of your intentions, Petra, for sharing this with everyone?
Look, for me, I like chatting about things. I like hearing other people's views. I like looking at things in depth because I think we have a tendency to look at the world in a bit of a blinkered way, and we make judgments based on that very blinkered view.
Yeah.
So this is, from my perspective, this is not about, putting forward my opinion, although I will be doing that a lot. It's about getting people thinking.
Yeah.
Think about it a little bit differently. Take the blinkers down a little bit. You don't have to take any of it on board. You don't have to agree. You don't have to disagree. But what I'm hoping is it can get you thinking, because we opening up dialogue, having a conversation, it just allows us to think things through. And I think that's what we need a little bit at the moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my intentions are very much on the same wavelength. I like to educate. I like to hold space for others in that teaching capacity, but I love watching people grow with the tools that are there, that are provided for them, and forming their own knowledge base and forming their own opinions about things, which then inform their practice or the way that they go about life. And like you said, if it doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate. So only take on what you will. But yeah, I love facilitating a space where it's open for discussion, where it's open for interpretation, and you're not coming from a place of judgment or bias, or this is how it has to be. And I think, within our own conversations, we've really held space for each other quite well, in that, there are times where we might have had differing opinions, but we've navigated that in a way where we're not persecuting or judging the other for having the differing opinion. We're just trying to understand. And I think the journey with spirit for most people is learning how to understand the world they're in and understand themselves. And so hopefully through a few of these chats that we have, we can help people understand a little bit more. Things might click over for them, and with ourselves too. I find doing this work and sharing these thoughts and feels and opinions activate things in me that I didn't realize I needed to work on, or that I didn't realize I was even interested in. And so, I mean, we both have habits of falling down the rabbit hole, and that
No,
might, yeah,
never.
and that might happen a bit in these podcast episodes. So just bear with us if we go on tangents. But yeah, I just want to be a guiding voice, a bit of a shining light in that abyss of learning and seeking knowledge.
Yep.
And just having a platform to ask those questions and to
Yep.
explore those questions a little bit more. And obviously, we would love if everyone we took it a step further and connected with us on our other platforms and with our other offerings. But honestly, I think the podcast is just for us, really.
Yeah.
It's just
100%. Especially the rant portion that I'll be doing
yeah,
is 100% for me and for the sanity of my family unit, because my family's getting a bit sick of me just going off off about something, but that's more just what I bump into in a day-to-day, more of the mundane part of life. But
yeah.
there's some things that need to be talked about.
Yeah, I'm here for a good rant. I love a good rant. I love a good rabbit hole. And I think it's because I don't do well with base level surface talk. Small talk is not something I thrive in. And so the deep dive conversations are what get my heart and soul going. So I love a rant. And
Yep.
I think I love passion that comes through in a rant. And it could be about anything, but the feels are there and it's genuine and it's authentic. So, and it's important. It's important to you if it bugs
You
you.
got to get that out.
Exactly. If it
Sometimes
bugs
you
you
got
that
to get
much.
it out.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm the same. My husband, he sometimes I'll go on a rant about something and it's just going straight over his head because it's not relevant. He's not overly witchy or spiritual. I mean, we have our own understanding of how the world works together, but and it's somewhat on a similar level, except I'm a bit more woo-woo, as you Petra.
Yep.
But that balances us out pretty well.
Yep.
But yeah, so to have another soundboard to just sort of talk this stuff through
Yep.
outside of the usual family unit is as a bonus and a benefit. And I hope everyone here who listens in or who watches on YouTube and Spotify will find the same.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And it's about, we're not experts in any of the fields that we're talking about. We're talking about our own personal experiences based on our own research that we've done.
Yeah.
We are never in our intention to put out any misinformation at all. But I think if we can encourage people to do their own research, no matter where they're getting the information from. I think that's another thing that I really, really want to. It's like, this is what I think. This is what Tayla thinks. This is where we've researched it. Happy to give you background of where we've gotten our thoughts from.
Yeah.
But if we can encourage you to look into things yourself, and that's not just a quick Google search, that's actually drilling down past all of that misinformation, for want of that the fake news.
Yeah.
Then I've achieved a really important goal.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's one of the major topics that we will be touching on throughout a lot of our episodes, but even in an episode itself, on just discerning where your information comes from, because there is so much misinformation and elated opinions and things out there that are really having an influence on practices, especially
100%.
era. So, and
which is some of the amazing things we'll be talking about.
Yes. So we've got a few episodes already lined up, ready to go for you all to listen in on. And next week, our episode is talking about ancestors. So as I mentioned earlier, ancestral practice is something that's really close to my heart. And so we'll be chatting a little bit about how we communicate with ancestors in spiritual practice. And then our episode after that is talking about sleep paralysis.
Yes. Our whole book series has been based on the concept of sleep paralysis. So fair to say that I've got a bit of an interest in the subject.
Yeah. And the one after that, so we'll be tossing up, we'll be going back and forth between spiritual and mundane pretty much. Like, we've got a really cool episode coming up about pop culture and the representation of witchcraft and magic in pop culture. So that's going to be really interesting to explore, because I find a lot of representations, or should I say misrepresentations, of what witchcraft and magic actually is in the modern age is really influencing practice in the real world, you know.
Yep.
So that will be an interesting episode. And yeah, and then we've got a few others talking about, you know, different things that we talk about all of the time, dreams, what the planets are doing. I had a really cool idea before about zodiac stereotypes and how people use zodiacs to chuck.
Oh, that's such a Taurian thing to say, Tay.
I know. It's the Taurus in me. Just so everyone knows, Taurus is Petra and my sun sign. And maybe that's why we're so similar. We do so well. But yeah, I thought that would be a really good topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we just chuck so many stereotypes on people that it's like, guys, we've got like 12 other houses and things that pull into play there. So yeah, that will be an interesting one. What are some of the other ones you are looking most forward to, Petra?
Well, I'm going to do a rant on modern fiction and where we're drawing the line in terms of what's acceptable to include in a work, because it's fiction. You know, because I'm seeing a lot of the direction between, you know, strong female stereotypes and main characters and protagonists. But, you know, what seems to happen is there's an underlying thread of borderline abuse and situations that we would really not accept in a normal, you know, day to day. And it I'd love to talk about where we draw that line. What's acceptable when we call it art, whether it be, you know, in a visual form or the written form.
Yeah.
Where do we draw the line?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That would be so interesting to explore. And you know what? That kind of reminds me of censorship culture too, like online, because we get these publications and things where, you know, undertones of abuse and stuff are really promoted as a positive thing almost. And but then if you try to talk about it authentically or provide support for people who are going through that type of thing in their home life, it's censored on the main platforms where they're going to see it. So it's that will be a whole topic in on itself to explore. And that's what we're doing here. We're exploring not only the magical things that influence our lives, but the mundane, you know, philosophical, political topics.
Absolutely.
Because it all interweaves. It all influences.
Absolutely.
You know, it has been since the dawn of time, like political systems, magic systems, spiritual beliefs, like it all interweaves. So that's what we're doing here, folks.
That's what we're doing here.
So
hopefully that sounds interesting to people and that they will join us on the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be here weekly with new episodes and topics of discussion. And we hope that you enjoyed this episode, Introductions and Intentions. Thank you for joining us on the Empowered Intuitive Academy podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube for episode updates and to connect with us with our other offerings, as well as follow us on Spotify, where we'll be uploading our audio version of the podcast each week. And to all you folks out there listening, remember, curiosity never killed the cats, but there is no growth in blissful ignorance. That's our love letter from us to you.
Never a true word has been spoken.
All righty. Until next week, everyone. Bye.
Bye.